Visit licensuraexams.com and try our samples completely free of charge.
Hello, therapist. I'm Dr. Linton Hutchinson, and I'm here with my colleague, Eric Twachtman. We're going to talk about logotherapy, a therapeutic approach that's commonly tested on licensing exams. Viktor Frankl developed this powerful approach after his experiences in Nazi concentration camps, and it offers a unique insight into how humans find meaning even in the most difficult circumstances.
That's right, Lent. We'll examine the key concepts, techniques, and applications. It's distinctly different from other therapeutic models because it focuses on meaning as the primary motivational force in our lives. And this perspective fundamentally changes how therapy is approached in this model.
Another key distinction is the role of responsibility. In logotherapy, you help clients recognize their responsibility to answer life's questions rather than asking what life owes them.
Right.
This shift often catalyzes significant change. The therapeutic relationship itself is unique to logotherapy. When you maintain warmth and empathy, you move willingly to respectfully challenging clients' assumptions about meaning and responsibility.
Right, and you used what Frankl called the medical ministry approach. You're not imposing meaning on the client, but you're helping them discover what's already meaningful to them, which often involves asking questions, sometimes hard questions, rather than just providing answers.
Yeah, that's right. Frankl often dealt with clients who presented with symptoms of anxiety and depression and had everything that society says they should have to make them happy: career success, financial stability, and relationships. Yet, they still felt something essential was lacking in their life. He realized that these people suffered from what he called existential vacuum, a lack of meaning or purpose.
And he even had a term for it, Sunday neurosis. And that was the emptiness that came at the end of a busy week when they were left alone with their thoughts. Many successful professionals encountered this after achieving all of their career goals. They'd climb the ladder, only to find out it was leaning against the wrong wall.
And how many ladders have you climbed against the wrong wall there, Eric?
I'm very careful about the walls whose ladders I climb.
So, how many therapists listening right now can identify these patterns in their own client population? My guess, it's quite a few. And this concept of Sunday neurosis is something you should remember for exam purposes. In fact, here's a quick tip. When you see questions about clients who have achieved traditional success but still feel empty, logotherapy is often the theoretical framework that is being referenced.
Right. Many clients describe feeling like they're living someone else's life or following a script they didn't write. They're doing what they think they should do rather than what relates and resonates to their own core values.
Mm-hmm. Success depression is common as well. Clients who've achieved outward success but feel disconnected from their achievements. They say something like, I should be happy, but I'm just not, or I've done everything right, but something is missing. These clients often display what we call achievement without fulfillment. They can reach goals, but don't experience the satisfaction that they expected.
Right. Clients' description of their relationships when you give an MSE can be very telling. They might have extensive social networks, but still feel fundamentally alone. And it's this disconnection from others that accompanies their disconnection from the deeper meaning they could have in their lives. In logotherapy, recognize that meaningful relationships, deep, meaningful relationships, are often the key pathway to a meaningful life.
You might also notice patterns in how these clients approach decision making. Many struggle with major life choices not because they lack options, but because they can't find meaning or any kind of meaningful criteria for choosing.
Right. So logotherapy addresses this with its three fundamental pillars: freedom of will to meaning, and meaning in life. The first, freedom of will, suggests that despite any circumstance, and remember, Frankl had been in the concentration camp, so he knew about circumstances, clients always maintain the freedom to choose their attitude toward the situation, even if they can't change the situation. So it's not just naive positivity, it's about helping clients recognize their own capacity to respond rather than just react. Frankl witnessed this freedom in the concentration camps, where some prisoners maintained their dignity and compassion despite the horrific circumstances.
Okay, the second pillar, will to meaning, positions the search for meaning as the primary motivational force in humans rather than pleasure or power, as you might see in other theoretical models. This, of course, challenges both Freudian, which would be the psychoanalytical therapy, and Adlerian, reality therapy, perspectives. In logotherapy, we see that people pursue meaning directly. They often find fulfillment, but the direct pursuit of happiness or pleasure frequently leads to frustration or emptiness. This reverses most theoretical approaches that focus primarily on symptom reduction.
Right. When clients focus directly on pleasure or happiness, they often miss both. Instead, when they pursue meaningful activities in relationship, satisfaction tends to arise naturally. This is what we call the happiness paradox. Happiness comes as a byproduct of pursuing meaning rather than pursuing happiness as the goal in itself. This insight helps clients to stop chasing after fleeting emotional states and instead engage what truly matters to them.
Okay, the last and third pillar suggests that life has meaning under all circumstances, even the most miserable ones. You don't try to change the situation, but rather help clients find meaning within it. This is particularly powerful when working with clients facing, chronic illness, grief, or any unavoidable suffering. Rather than just help them cope, we help them find ways to make their responses to suffering meaningful and even transformative.
Exactly. In logotherapy, meaning can be found even and especially even in difficult situations. Frankl observed that people who had a why to live could withstand almost any how. This perspective offers hope to clients facing circumstances they can't change, but must instead find ways to meaningfully endure or even transform through their response.
So they need a pathway for doing that, right, Eric?
Right.
Right. So clients can discover meaning through three primary pathways: creative values, which involve giving something to the world through art or work; experiential values, which involves receiving what the world offers through relationships or nature; and attitudinal values, which involves finding meaning by choosing the attitude towards unavoidable suffering. Each client will have a different natural pathways to meaning, and part of our work is to help them identify which pathways most accessible and resonate to them personally.
Creative values often involve contributing something to the world, whether through work, volunteering, creative art, or even solving problems. Experiential values involve deeply experiencing relationship, beauty, nature, or cultural expressions. And attitudinal values emerge when clients choose how to face unavoidable suffering with dignity and purpose. Understanding these three pathways gives us practical directions to explore with clients who feel their lives lack meaning.
Okay, for the exam, important to note that logotherapy differs from traditional psychotherapy in several significant ways. Instead of focusing on the past or unconscious conflicts, it is present and future oriented. helping clients find meaning in their current circumstances and future possibilities. When we don't ignore the past, we're more concerned with how clients can find meaning moving forward than with explaining how they arrived at their current situation.
And this distinction is frequently tested on exam where you might be asked to compare logotherapy's approach with psychodynamic or cognitive behavioral approaches. Remember that while logotherapy acknowledges the importance of the past, its primary focus is on present meaning making and future possibilities.
Clinical trials have also shown logotherapy's effectiveness in treating addiction, with studies reporting reduced relapse rates compared to standard treatment approaches alone. One longitudinal study found a 40% reduction in relapse rates alongside traditional addictions treatment. This makes sense when we consider that many addictions begin as attempts to fulfill an existential vacuum.
Oh, existential vacuum. Is that the same vacuum I saw you filling earlier with salmon and nori sushi that you were making disappear pretty quickly?
As a matter of fact, as I have it on good authority, that Viktor loved California rolls.
Ooh, first name basis. I figured that you and Victor were the same cohort.
Okay, so if that was true, as that would make me around 120 years old.
Well, I'm not saying anything about that, Dr.
Okay.
Hutchinson, but we'll let that stand on its own.
Okay, but now that we're on a roll, let's talk about specific interventions. One primary technique is paradoxical intention, where you help the clients confront their fears by having them deliberately act out what they fear most. For example, if a client fears public speaking, you might encourage your client to tell other people that are also afraid to speak in public how nervous your client can be. This often breaks the cycle of anticipatory anxiety that intensifies the very symptoms that the client fears.
Another key intervention is de-reflection, where you help your client shift focus away from their symptoms or problems and toward the meaningful aspects in their lives. And it's particularly effective when clients are caught in a cycle of excessive self-focus. Rather than telling someone to stop thinking about their symptoms, you redirect their attention to meaningful activities or relationships that can naturally pull them outside of themselves.
Well, the Socratic dialogue is also central. You use targeted questions to help clients discover meaning in their own experiences. Questions like, what would be different if you weren't here? Or, what unique contributions can you make? These kind of questions are not merely intellectual exercises. They're designed to help the client uncover meaning that already exists in their lives, but may be overlooked.
Another one is the mountain range exercise, in which clients imagine viewing their lives as a mountain range from a distance. That helps them gain perspective on their current situation. The exercise involves guiding them through a detailed visualization where each peak represents a significant life event or achievement. And the idea is to help the client see the patterns of meaning that they might miss if they focus only on their current situation.
The one that I really like is the film technique. So, it's another powerful tool where you ask clients to imagine their life as a movie and consider what would make it meaningful or worthwhile to watch. You might ask them to consider what scenes they would include, what roles they are playing, and what message they want their audience to take away. This often reveals values and meanings that clients haven't fully articulated, but are deeply important to themselves.
And as important as all those techniques are, it's also a key to determining a client's starting point to look at assessment tools. And one of those assessment tools is the Purpose in Life test.
You mean the pill?
That's right, the pill. This robust 20-item scale measures the degree to which an individual experiences a sense of meaning and purpose. It uses a 7-point scale.
You mean a Likert scale?
I likered it very much, yes. And it's valuable both for its initial assessment and in tracking progress. The Meaning in Life questionnaire assesses two dimensions of meaning, the Meaning in Life questionnaire, or MLQ, assesses two dimensions of meaning in life using 10 items rated on a 7-point scale from absolutely true to absolutely untrue. And it looks at both the presence of meaning and the search for meaning, and helps the client discover where they are and where they're going about their journey.
Okay. Let's talk about some key terms. Existential value. Again, existential vacuum refers to a state of inner emptiness and meaninglessness that isn't just the same thing as being sad or unfulfilled. It's a fundamental crisis of meaning that underlies many presenting problems of the client.
Like, because your life sucks.
Yeah.
The vacuum.
I got it.
Oh, okay. Noogenic neurosis describes psychological distress arising from existential or spiritual conflicts rather than merely psychological or emotional ones. It is distinct from traditional neurosis because it stems from moral conflicts or crises of meaning rather than psychological dynamics.
Okay, well, that's an easy one to remember. It just rolls off your tongue.
Absolutely. Noogenic. Don't you use that word all the time? I used it just the other day at McDonald's. I asked if they had any noogenic fries.
Why aren't I surprised?
Well, you shouldn't be. And by the way, I didn't get any noogenic fries, so.
Okay. Self-transcendence means reaching beyond oneself towards meaning through relationships, causes, or spiritual connections. It's about connecting to something larger than yourself, whether that's through service, creativity, or relationships.
Okay, knowledge check time. Here's an example of a question that you might encounter on the exam. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. A client presents with successful career achievements, but reports feeling empty and purposeless. Which logotherapy concept best explains this presentation? A, existential frustration. B, noogenic neurosis. C, existential vacuum. Or D, self-transcendence deficit.
Well, the correct answer is C, existential vacuum. This concept specifically, refers to a state where, despite external success, an individual experiences a profound sense of meaninglessness and inner emptiness.
All right, so let's summarize the key points about logotherapy that you'll need to know if they show up on your exam. The fundamental principle is that finding meaning is the primary motivational source in human life, not pleasure or power.
Logotherapy's 3 pillars, do you remember them? Freedom of will,
right?
Will to meaning, and meaning to life. That provides the theoretical foundations of all interventions.
Understanding the concept of existential vacuum is crucial. It's not the same as depression or anxiety, even though it may present in a similar fashion.
Remember that logotherapy is present and future-oriented. It focuses on helping clients discover meaning rather than analyzing past experiences.
And finally, keep in mind that logotherapy can be integrated into other therapeutic approaches. It has its own distinct theory and techniques, but it can complement cognitive behavioral, humanistic, or psychodynamic work when appropriate. And as always, we'd like to thank all our listeners, both those preparing for their licensing exam and those already in practice. Your commitment to understanding diverse therapeutic approaches enriches our field and benefits the world at large.
And remember, it's in there.
Thanks.
See you later, Ez.
Ciao.